Auto exposure and autofocus lock are something that a lot of people don't use, but there are very specific occasions when you really want to use this feature. So let's take a look at the back of the camera and show you where the button is. I'm going to show you why and how to use it. It's right there. It's in a place where you can get your thumb onto it while you're holding the camera and plus press the shutter button at the same time. And it's oh, there I am in that little reflection there. And that way you can do both functions at the same time because you're going to have to hold this in as you're using it. So what does this do? Well, auto exposure and autofocus lock locks the exposure and the focus when you hold this button in across any amount of pictures that you want to take. As long as you're holding the button in, it will lock the autofocus, the focus or the exposure and allow you to take the same exposure across 10, 20, 30, 40 pictures. Now, the primary usage that I find for this is in taking panoramic shots. And there's the photo stitch type of software available so that you can do your panoramic shots. And I'm going to tell you how to use this button and how to take those shots really effectively, because a lot of times people have trouble with this. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it right now. So the first thing to do is take your camera and turn on the menu and then go ahead and set it for the smallest picture size. And that's because you're going to take these panoramic shots vertically. And pan across, you can take very still and keep the camera very stable and go right across like this. But you're going to go ahead, press the shutter button halfway down, let it focus, and then hold in the AEAF lock button and take your shots and overlap them by about 30%. Lots of overlap. Go across like that. Boom, boom, boom. Plenty of overlap. Now, the reason that we're doing this is that when you're outside and you're taking a shot of this beautiful place or landscape or whatever, you are going to get to the point where the sun is closer to one side or the other, and the camera is automatically going to try to adjust for the clouds or the brightest part of that picture. And what's going to happen is that the rest of the picture is going to change in brightness. And you want to be sure that all these pictures are exactly the same brightness of exposure so that when they're sewed together, you don't have this dark spot where all of a sudden there's a bright sun and the rest of the grass or mountains is dark, and then it gets back to looking like the left part of the photo. Well, you don't want that. You want it to hold the same brightness all the way across. So to do that, you've got to hold that AEAF lock button. Pop, 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 pop. Of course, the most important thing is do not go all the way back to all the way super wide angle. Zoom in the tightest you can do it and still get the entire frame, because as you go back to wide angle, you'll get more sort of fisheye distortion, and sewing the images together will be more difficult for the computer. You want it to do it seamlessly. 35 to 50, 60 millimeters would be a good range if you can afford to do that, especially outside. Take your shots in small resolution, and then remember, go back right away to the menu and set yourself back on large or raw or whatever you're using, because many times I've caught myself at a wedding or another occasion where I've done the panorama, forgot to put it back in large, and I shot 10, 15 shots in small size. So there you go. There's a good reason. And with the menus, which we'll show you, you can slightly change the definition of how this AEAF lock button works.